Hey friend, Michelle Dennis Evans here. Welcome to Created to Write, where we turn blank pages into finished work. You'll be encouraged, inspired, and learn practical strategies to move forward with your writing, whether you're just starting out or ready to level up your craft. And if you're looking for ways to support your creative work with an additional income stream, I'd love to chat with you. Please reach out on social, Michelle Dennis Evans on most places. Now for today's episode. I have with me today the gorgeous Ruth Bonetti. How are you, Ruth?
Hello, Michelle. I'm great. Thank you.
Good to hear. Good to hear. So Ruth's career in classical music became her gateway to the world. She is an author, editor of a dozen publications about music, education, performance, and historical biography. Ruth is fascinated by stories of real people, past and present. Would you like to elaborate on some of that, Ruth?
Right. Well, you can see that the last sentence is where my passion has been. And that is since I started trying to research, well, the research found me largely, researching my grandfather's story back leaving Finland as a Swedish Finn. And he migrated to avoid conscription into the Russian army, following his brother before him, Karl Johan, who was conscripted and called up and fled. And he had a very big problem ever since of being quite paranoid because the Russian military police looked for him in Cairo, in Suez Canal, calling out his name, but he escaped because he had a friend's passport. But the famous phrase I have from relatives is, if they take me, I jump into the sea and take my chances with the Arabs. Anyway, he escaped their clutches. And as his father had said, having obtained maps of Australia, because places like Canada would be too close to Finland, they'd be cold and miserable, that he found a book that said, Australia is a large country, mostly desert. And the maps told him enough to say with some sense, head for the most easterly point, son, there must be rain. And so Karl Johan, KJ, fetched up at Byron Bay where there was rain, and so on. And Grandad followed 3 years later, but he had it easier than the Black Sheep brother who had been engaged in activism against the Russian occupation of Finland. So Grandad's story takes us to Western Queensland, hence the outback upbringing. And after that, I eventually came down to the big city, to Brisbane, for education and university. I studied at University of Queensland, which actually Grandad had been very much instrumental in developing that land. And during the war times and then the Depression, people defaulted on their rates and he was biting his fingernails. But there was a bequest by the main family to build University of Queensland at St. Lucia. And so that saved Grandad's bacon.
Wow.
So a lot of the colleges of the university were originally Grandad's land that he had developed. And of course, coming down from the outback, I was culture shocked and shy, and I wouldn't say boo, let alone do presentation, but there you go. I've
done a lot since then.
Yes, and it's wonderful to have broken through that pain threshold and come to the stage of actually enjoying presentation, so that one of my books can encourage people with speak out, don't freak out. And then this second one of my trilogy, I described some of the rather dark and tough times when I was struggling with my nerves, my shyness, my inability to speak. And so I'm very grateful that God has freed my voice. And whenever I get the opportunity, I can even enjoy it. Part of that was because when I was recently married, my husband's a violinist and conductor. We went overseas and thought we were going for 2 years to study in London. But in fact, we stayed 7 years, 5 of them speaking second languages other than English, 2 of which we learned on the job. And so obviously, whenever I would open my mouth, I would make a mistake. And people would say, why don't you introduce your concerts? Why don't you talk about the music? We'd love that. And I said, because I'd make mistakes. Oh, we forgive that. And that was one of the lovely things that helped me to get beyond that, so that I could just speak because people enjoyed hearing. And I think that was a big lesson, that every time I would open my mouth, I would make a mistake and just get over it. Just do it. Which is, just do it is actually one of my grandfather's phrases.
There you go. So you went from music to writing. So what first sparked that? Yeah.
Well, I'd always loved writing because I read a lot. When you're in the outback, you don't have the facilities, and books are wonderful. And I wrote compositions and little short stories for the Hughenden show that started with lots of adverbs like the sun rose slowly, majestically above the horizon. And I realized as a writer now, you drop all the adverbs, please, and adjectives. And I always was scribbling and writing little plays that we put on and scripts and so on. And so I guess because the combination of reading and then writing, it was inevitable that I would stray into that. But my early books came through my first career in music, a method for clarinet, which was Oxford Uni Press, is still Oxford Uni Press, and then books on how to practice, because a lot of students have no idea how to practice, and it's worse even the last generation or two, and how to perform with confidence, because did I have that? Of course not. I had to learn it through my performance. And then one for teaching, one for teachers called, where are we? Sounds and Souls, How Music Teachers Change Lives. Being brought up Christian can sometimes be something that's just there. But I think when we went to Europe and I felt absolutely decidedly led by God, we were living in London and it was a bit of a whole pittance student and teaching and so on. Suddenly out of the blue came an invitation for my husband to lead a very small opera orchestra in the north of Sweden. And well, wouldn't we? This was directly across the Gulf of Bothnia from my grandfather's birthplace in Finland. And when we caught the boat across and the ferry, this was just after Christmas, and the ferry was breaking up the ice as we went and the sun was glittering on ice. And it was so exciting. And also I described that in the first chapters of my first book, Burn My Letters. And I thought I was writing one book, Midnight Sun to Southern Cross, but my relatives that I met in Finland, who looked a mix of my brother and my father's nose and my uncle's ears and everybody's chin, they gave me so much material, parish records that went back to 1550 and genealogy, but a wonderful treasure trove of letters from those who went and those who stayed. And the black sheep brother, who was chased by the Russian military police, wrote home, "Burn my letters. I do not want anyone to find them." But his mother, who could not have done that, hid them in the family Bible, or some of them she cut a little bit off so that sensitive material had been hidden. And it was just mind-blowing to see what they lived and where they came through. And they won't find that in a hurry. But this is the area.
Wow. Yeah.
Finland. We lived in this part, Umeå, and that's the family village, although it's a small village. And there's the Gulf. And that was frozen.
How far away is that? How long did it take you to get there?
4 hours.
Wow, that would have been amazing.
Yes. But what was really magnetizing was that I felt this sense of magnetism dragging me across the Gulf, and I felt presentiments down my spine as if there is more here than I realize.
Yeah.
And when I did the research, well, there were people escaping across that same stretch of water or ice. And smuggling arms and propaganda, etc., back into Finland, which is where my great uncle fell foul of the authorities because he was an activist and he described himself as a pen fighter. And he had actually, after living 20 years in Australia, he published a book or 2 or 3 pamphlets and so on in the language he learned on the boat coming out. And so he was an indie publisher out of Mullumbimby, Post Office Box 6, back in 1918. And so he gave me quite an example of what you can do when you try. And but yes, getting back to the leading, I felt very much that I was the person to write the family stories, and that I was gifted so much information, letters and so on, that I really felt supported in this.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is that I am now led to go back there in a month's time and present in the family village, which will be exciting. And also, after a week there, go across to Estonia, where I'm planning to write my next book. And it needs a lot of research. It's about the singing revolution, which...
Is this another nonfiction, or are you moving into fiction?
I've moved genre, which is a little scary because skills for fiction
very different
are quite challenging. I know about Don't Tell. I know about...
Oh, that makes me laugh, Ruth. I find nonfiction more challenging.
We need to get together. But there is a whole different mindset to write this.
Yeah.
And I felt, although Estonia may be similar to Finland, living under the threat of the bear next door, then their stories aren't exactly the same. But although the Finns fought desperately, fiercely hard and sacrificially to oust the Russians, the Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania were under Soviet control until 1990. And there were 2 things that they did. They used their voices, especially the Estonians, to sing, to encourage each other and to keep their nationalism alive, which the Russians couldn't understand in that language. And they have song festivals, and I will be there for a 5-yearly song festival in early July. The other thing that really worked for them was, so they won freedom by their voices, by singing, whereas, you know, other countries fought with bullets and blood. It wasn't simple, but they did gain freedom through their voices. But also the 3 Baltic states, the people of the 3 countries stood shoulder to shoulder in silence for 15 minutes on the anniversary of the Molotov-Ribbentrop I say Molotov cocktail because those were the things that were thrown at the Russians as a sort of device. But there was a treaty which divided pretty much the better part of Europe between Stalin and Hitler, a secret treaty. And on the 50th anniversary of that, people stood in silence as a protest, and that gained attention around the world. So they used their voices and they also used their silence, which I find very, very
incredible.
Yes, very exciting, but brave and visionary. And so I envisage a series of books, God willing, called Musicians Who Changed History. And this would be the first of them. And I feel I've got a whole big learning curve and a lot to research, but also to frame into a narrative is a challenge, which is good because when I thought, oh, I've written the trilogy, that's it, I'll shut the door on Finland. And it left a hole in my heart and my head. And I felt rather sad, but now I realize I can repurpose my research to use other stories and so on.
Yes.
And so I'm very excited about that. It's a lot of opportunities to come into, and to make something worthwhile of it is a challenge, but
I can't wait to read it because I have enjoyed reading the first three books, your historical family books that you've written.
Thank you.
So I can see that you will be able to do it when you put your mind to it.
Yes. And there is a lot of that, how much we can focus
It's
and when we're
focus.
directed. But the
Yeah.
doors are opening for me. I know that this is the right time to go.
Uh-huh.
And I'm traveling with a cousin and a young great uncle, a great nephew who's 25. And my cousin, after she'd decided that yes, she wanted to come, she said with a jubilant note to her voice, well, actually, I have a cousin who lives in Estonia. She's been married to an Estonian for about 20 or 30 years. And so we have people who can lead us to the research.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that I find definite evidence that I'm being led to go there.
Mm-hmm.
And that is heartening.
Yes.
And I'm very excited about that.
So would you say that encourages you to continue, even though you might face some walls when you get there?
Well, it's a challenge, as I said, but it is heartening to know that I'm on the right path.
Mm-hmm.
And also, we writers, we often have slumps of desert when we've been busy writing and then suddenly, what do I do now? And I've been thinking, oh, this, no, that, no. And I do feel very definite that this is what I'm meant to do.
Yeah.
I just need to gain the research and the different skill set of writing tools and up and away. So it's
very exciting.
Yes.
So before we go, what would you like to impart or encourage somebody who would like to start writing or who has written a little bit but isn't published yet? What would you like to impart?
Keep reading, keep writing. Remember, a first draft, you don't stop and edit. You just keep writing, put it down. And I love the fact that we have a community of people to encourage us, to help us with what we need for learning, go to workshops and things like that. I did various courses through the Queensland Writers Centre, but also I'm really enjoying Write Links, which you may be involved with, which is for Kids Lit, and going along and having chapters critiqued, which can be very frightening to face, but it's
bruising on the ego.
Yes, we get good criticism, and some of it we may take and some of it we may lose and leave. But it is useful to have feedback. And the other thing is we have our showcase, which is a lot of opportunity to learn and to mix together. And to
go on, give it a plug. What's it called?
Showcase. It's
Showcase.
It's like a conference, but it's not just a couple of keynote speakers standing up. We have one, but it's a chance for everybody to hold their books up and go, I've got these books, and in 90 seconds, and to actually tell us about them.
Yeah.
And so we have all the people invited to be a part of it. Yeah. And we love that sense of unity and inclusion. And the other thing which has been wonderful is working together with Anne Hamilton, who you interviewed, to put out 2 books, which are
lovely.
A collection, both of them a collection. In which one?
I'm in the last one, the one that just came out.
Yes. And we look on that as an opportunity to help fledgling writers into print. So to cross the pain threshold into print and to go, oh, wow, look.
I agree. Yes. An anthology is the best way to feel that your writing is worthy to be published. I was in 2 anthologies, I think, before I realised I could possibly write a novel.
Yes. And it's an opportunity where we can at least put our heads down, write something, have it critiqued if possible, have a mentor if we can, and I like giving back what people have given me, and feel that if it's considered worthy of print, well, keep going. And that's such a wonderful, positive thing, which
Yes.
I very much value, and was wonderful to have you involved in between the covers.
Thank you. It's been lovely having you on my show today. I'd like to call it a podcast, but I was told it's on YouTube, so it's a show.
Well, whatever.
Whatever we call it. Thank you for joining us. Please hit that like and subscribe. And I'll put all of Ruth's links down below. Please go follow her as well.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity, and God bless.
Thanks for hanging around till the end. Please remember to leave a review if you've enjoyed this podcast and share it with a friend. You never know who is wanting to get those words out of their head and into a book.